When you have multiple keyframes on a property, you can slow the entire animation down or speed it up by using the following method. Now, if you just have two keyframes, it's easy. You just separate the keyframes away from each other and then the animation will be slower, or you bring them closer to each other and it will be faster. But what if you have more than two keyframes? That's what I'm going to show you in this tutorial. So first, I'm going to press Command A to select everything, and then I'll press the letter U that will hide all the keyframes, and then U again to reveal them. So I can now see all the keyframes I created. The keyframes of the top layer look a little bit different than the rest. You see that these are round keyframes rather than diamond shapes like these ones. This is because I pasted this path from Illustrator, and by default, when you paste a path from Illustrator, they come in as what's called rowing keyframes, which means if I click on this last keyframe and then drag this out, you see all the keyframes will stretch out at the same time. In other words, the relative distance between the keyframes will remain the same, but the same thing doesn't apply to the layer below, for example. If I select this last keyframe here and then drag this one out, you see that this is the only keyframe that's being dragged out. Nothing happens to the other keyframes. That's because we didn't set these keyframes to row across time. So I'm going to go press Command Z to undo that. If you select all the keyframes that you want to stretch out evenly, you have two options to do this. You can either right-click on one of these keyframes and then choose Rove across time, and that's going to make these keyframes round as well, which means if I now deselect them and then click on the last one, you see they'll all be stretched out evenly. Or alternatively, you can select all the keyframes you want to stretch out evenly, and then move up to the last keyframe, and then on the keyboard, hold down the Alt key and then click and drag. That also rows the keyframes across time. So you have three options. You either paste the path from Illustrator, which will automatically come in as row keyframes, or you can select the keyframes and then right-click and choose row keyframes across time, or you can select all the keyframes and then hold down Alt and then click on the last one and drag it right to row them across time again. Being able to slow down or speed up an animation when you have more than two keyframes is going to be extremely useful when it comes to editing the existing animations.